I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
In the coming day, Jesus Christ will return to the earth as the millennial Messiah, or the second coming. Do you see what is happening right before our eyes? Second coming of the Lord. Jesus Christ will govern from Old Jerusalem and the New Jerusalem, built upon the American continent.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Mormons do not understand that they are the enemy, from especially after October conference's Nelson talk. Mormons found out a month later that he declared Jesus is coming in a coming day. What Mormons do not get is that Jesus was created by Roman Emperor Constantine. Joseph Smith was not a Christian. The Book of Mormon is not another testament of Jesus Christ. Mormons have been deceived by false prophets, promoting a false Christ, merely changing the nature and character of Constantine's Jesus. Mormons are bigots and racists of the Jews by birth. The full-on indoctrination of this church is a full purging of goodness from your souls. Everything you do, everything you say, it's a sin. I didn't quote the Pet Shop Boys correctly, did I? So my whole channel, all these latter days, yes, we're in the latter days. I told you before Nelson told you. And you didn't hear that conference talk of his, did you? Not even a month later. You missed it. You don't understand what it means when Nelson says that Jesus is going to govern from Jerusalem. You don't know the backstory of the Jews, of real literal history, not Constantine's First Creed revisionist history. I guess I gotta summarize it. The Jews were those who lived prior to the creation of Judah. They were Egyptians, and pre-1500 BCE, a group of people went and settled on the mountaintop that they designated as Salem, translated as peace. The top of the mountain called peace. Keep that in mind as we get to Abinadi. Still, it should be the thumbnail picture. Those of you who know the story of Abinadi might be able to recall through memorization. I doubt most of you have associate memory, so you don't know what I'm talking about. And so, in 1450 BCE, Pharaoh David Moses III came up to kick out the Hittites who had encroached into northern Canaan. That was still Israel's land. And they met in the valley of Armageddon. Har Megiddo, mountain of Megiddo. And in the midst of that battle of Armageddon, Pharaoh David Moses III came and stood on the mountaintop of Salem. Went on vacation. The Egyptian documents don't say anything about what he did during his vacation time. there's some Bible stories that are not literal histories. But Salem, meaning peace, is the name of the land. Thus became the tributary kingdom thereafter. They then built a temple to the house of David Moses and to the Ammon priesthood. The first pharaoh of the David Moses dynasty was Moses. Flip it around. Moses Mosiah. That's me. I'm the one who found that out. And built a palace with a throne for the tributary king. Tributary means that they are subjects of Egypt. They are not independent sovereign nations. And so the king of Salem, which is now the kingdom of Salem. So in Paleo-Hebrew, you attach an N as a suffix determinative to make it Salem N. Solomon. Solomon, king of Salem, kingdom of Salem. See how simple that was? So the first king of Salem is Solomon. That's not his real name, that's the title. In 1300, the Sea People invaded, just did a scorched earth blitzkrieg, and then they ran into the wall there at the Wadi at the delta of Egypt. And so they withdrew back into what's now called Gaza. They called it Philistia. So notice how the Islamists call it Palestine for the Sea People occupiers, militant occupiers on Jewish land, tributary now to Egypt. And then you have Assyria around 700 BCE, who takes over government over northern Israel and deports the wealthier northern Israelites into Assyria and takes Assyrians to deport them to northern Israel. That was Assyria's pattern of conquering. It's a grafting thing for the scriptures, where you have the olive trees of Jacob, and the good branches are grafted into another vine that's having difficulties, that kind of thing. And so that's what it is. He took Assyrian good grafts into northern Israel after taking the weaker ones to attach it to the stronger tree. It was that kind of thinking process for their governing. And then you have Babylon. They finally conquer Judah and take Jerusalem. And Nebuchadnezzar puts his brother Zedekiah on the throne of Egypt. That was was March, I think. Can't remember the exact day. Have to look it up again. And so 11 years later, in 586 BCE, Zedekiah was being a naughty brother, not giving tribute to his brother back at the capital. So his brother's pissed and comes to destroy his brother and Jerusalem. The temple is destroyed. The palace is destroyed. And prisoners are taken hostage back into Babylon. This was on the 9th of Av, the Babylonian calendar of 9/11. The first instance of 9/11 in recorded history. And it was against these Jews. And so, Persia conquered Babylon. Cyrus allowed the Jews to go back to their land, rebuild the temple. And the Samaritans of the Assyrian mixed with the poor of northern Israel got into disputes because the Jews know that the Samaritans are not purebred. A lot of racism going on. Can't we all just live together? Can't we all just live in peace? Yeah, the Jews are now an exclusive extremist group at this point, and they got it fully assimilated into Babylonian culture, religion, calendar, holy days, etc. because of the Sabbath day that Babylon created. Sabbath day did not exist prior to, despite what Christians tell you from the first creed of Christianity. And so nonetheless, the temple gets rebuilt until the Greeks come in. Alexander the Great does a mass conquering of land and occupies Jerusalem, takes possession of the temple. The Greeks, it's a period of time, to understand that I'm summarizing this. And they were offering bacon on the altar. And it wasn't that there was bacon, it's the abomination of desolation, because the Greeks had took it over and were performing their Greek religion in the Jewish temple. Understand that Deuteronomic and Leviticus laws were by the Qumran community. That's why Sabbath day is in the Ten Commandments. So yes, we're going to briefly mention that what's the Sabbath day doing in the Book of Mormon Americas if they left before becoming assimilated by Babylon? Mm-hmm. I'm the one who figured that one out. Ex-foe never mows. Why didn't you? Oh, right. You were blinded by the church and Christianity, too. And so then Rome takes over. Rome now occupies the Jerusalem temple. The Maccabean revolt, to insert back into the summary, they restored their temple, and thus the creation of what's now called Hanukkah. And so Rome now is occupying the land, and the Jews are not happy with the militant takeover. This was different Now you have Roman soldiers marching around the walls of the Jerusalem temple. And so obviously the Jews are not happy. The Qumran community is creating scriptures of prophecy and revelation of a future Christ who is to save them. 10 Commandments is written. Deuteronomy, the law, is written. The other scriptures are written. And there are groups of Jews who want to fulfill this future prophecy to save the Jews and restore the land. Rome slaughters them. 70 AD CE. On 9/11, yet again, Rome destroys the Jerusalem temple. Rome is utterly destroyed, or the Jews are utterly destroyed. And they flee into Saudi Arabia, where the Babylonians had fled into Saudi Arabia after the Persians conquered them. And then you get Roman Emperor Constantine, who takes the other scattered religious groups, who all took a Jewish scripture and used that one and only one for their religion. And they had a creed based upon its interpretation of it. And so you're starting to get different natures and characters of the Christ with different names. Not understanding that for the Jews, they were all the same. And Roman Emperor Constantine finally comes along and figures out a way to conquer all of these different groups, and claims that he sees the sign of the coming of the Christ with the Cairo in the heavens. Doesn't bother to tell them that was the 8th of April 2024, and threatens them to withhold funding for their congregations if they don't come to the Council of Nicaea to become one. They have to give up their religion, they have to give up their Christ, they have to give up their interpretation of Scripture. They may even likely, since there was only 4 that were allowed in, plus Acts and some other letters of Paul that were not by the authors, they're not literal history either, Jews. They had to give up their religious beliefs. So the Gnostic scriptures, for example, was forbidden by this council. And people who learn about the Gnostic Gospels think that those are supposed to be included as Christian. They weren't Christians, dumbasses. But anyway. And so they gave everything up to become this new religion, new religious order. But they could not come to an agreement as to the nature and character. Thus a Museon. Thus in thumbnail picture yesterday. Nobody knows what it was. It's Greek to them. It's not Greek. It's composed of Greek letters, but it has no meaning. Thus, the only meaning for it is not real. The word isn't real because the nature and character of Jesus is not real. That's why he's called Trinity. That's why nobody would dare say that Jesus can physically appear even though the First Creed says he can. But he's still not like us of the mortal body. His was a superior body of spirit, not real. Yeah, they redefined spirit. It was Roman Emperor Constantine who created the word because they couldn't agree. And so then you get Islam around 600 CE. The Creed of Constantine's 325 CE. In Saudi Arabia, you get these Arabs who were Babylonian exiles, and you eventually get the child Muhammad born. And because the Jews are also in Saudi Arabia, he's familiar with the Jews and the Jewish interpretation of the Jewish scriptures that they had. And there's clearly an indication that the Quran is referencing. I'm getting hacked? Month. They backed off for a month and now they're back. As of last night, they're back. Unbelievable. And see, it's after 5, which means the employee began work. So Muhammad clearly has access to scriptures that are not found yet, written by the Jews, as he has written in the Quran biblical stories that we do not have. And it could be that he made that stuff up, but without the documents we can't know for sure. Nonetheless, he creates a new religion, but steals Constantine's Hamuzion. Allah comes from the Canaanite El, which is singular, but it translated into English, Allah is we in the plural. And so it's nothing more than Trinity. But now Trinity of Christians is said to be Islamic, not Christian. Jesus is now an Islamist, posing as a Christian, infiltrating the Jews during the Roman period of time. Automatic disqualification is true. And so he went on a scorched earth policy, just like the sea people who became the Philistines of Gaza, and forced conversions with the threat of death, burned their towns, cities, with a militant force. So thus gave rise to the abomination of Islam, that still thinks that they're innocent people and need to rule the world with Islam. And so, trying to recall, because I was researching it yesterday, it's around the 900s, 10th century, when the Holy Roman Empire experienced their first breakup, in which this was the Orthodoxy split. This is where you get your Eastern Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Catholic Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. The original main split-offs. There's an Armenian Orthodox now, but that's more modern. And Western Orthodox would eventually be involved here as well. And so each one of them are vying for supremacy over the others. And as you can tell, the Vatican were able to obtain Rome and build the Vatican and claim that they've got Peter's bones. Sorry, the First Creed turned the Jewish prophecies and revelations about future events and people into literal history, so thus Peter's not real. You don't have the bones of Peter. If you do have somebody's bones, you murdered them to fill the coffin so that you can force your religion to be true. Dear God. So yeah, abominable. All these religions that replace the Jews are abominable. So, the Jews got chased around Europe with Constantine and then with Islam. The Jews had a group of scholars called Masoretes during 800 to 1000 CE, and that's the abominable biblical Hebrew text. It's abominable because they violated their own law within the Bible that they mistranslated. Do not add or take away. It's right there in Deuteronomy, the law. Don't do it, and they did it. They changed the Paleo-Hebrew script into Aramaic script. Then they added Aramaic letters as vowels so that it can be pronounced, and further vowel pronunciation, and even for musical songs, which nobody knows it's extinct. So it's kind of hard to figure out what the dot markings play in musical performances. But nonetheless, they also use these as vowel markings as well. And so their version has only one translation. There is no other translation acceptable. So the Septuagint does not match. The Latin Vulgate does not match. They were created by Christians. And Christians are more abominable because they claim it was written by Jews pre-Constantine by 72 Jews, and thus they called it the 70. They can't count, I guess. And the myth goes is that these 72 Jews all separately translated into Greek the Jewish scriptures. And when they all got together and found out that they had rendered a translation into Greek, they compared and found it was all exactly the same. Not a single word difference. And so, yeah, thus the Septuagint was claimed to be the authoritative source, and it's abominable. It's a completely different document. It's post-Constantine. But it's in the Book of Mormon with those porn pictures on ships that I did the video of the other week. I think that was in reply to a Stanford comment. And so, yeah, what the Masoretes did was turn the biblical Hebrew text into a multi-personality disorder in order to make the translation that they did, which does closely match with a number of exceptions, the Septuagint and the Latin Vulgate. And thus you can see why the Septuagint and the Latin Vulgate are not from the original Hebrew text. And so in order to conform the Hebrew text to the Septuagint and the Latin Vulgate, they had to include definitions of words from multiple languages to be incorporated. They had to do different linguistic patterns throughout the same book within the total Bible. And so, yeah, it is just awful. And why didn't anybody trust Joseph Smith? King Follett sermon. Biblical Hebrew text is wrong. Why didn't you believe him, Mormons? Why? You know, you got John Tvednis, who did a thesis paper back in college, which was the only accomplishment that he was advertised for. He then went to work for the church at BYU and did nothing since. No accomplishments since working for the church. You know, his whole thing was on his little thesis paper he did back in college. And it was to show that the phonetics of the multi-personality disorder are true. Talk about your inability to know your scriptures, especially from the original language. And so, yeah, this is why Mormon apologists, scholars, if you dare use the term, don't know anything, and thus why they throw Joseph Smith under the bus. They lie and deny just to be faith promoting for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They do not trust Joseph Smith. They do not believe him. And he will tell you, he never said it, Travis. I never said it. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But it was over the phone. So, but yes, you did. And I gotcha. That was your answer in the lecture you gave. Yep, that caused quite a stir back in the day. So, of a curious note for you, I thought I'd share with you some fun stuff from the scriptures. Deuteronomy chapter 2. You can tell that Avraham Gileadi did this. They left him alone on chapter 1 in the footnotes because he has all HEBs. That was his assignment, doing the footnotes, was to do the HEBs. And so, yeah, you see that he puts in a lot of unnecessary stuff as HEBs. But nonetheless, you'll get to chapter 2, and then you see, I'm guessing it's verse 10, yeah. Emim's dwelt therein in the past, and it's Anakims, B. 10b, there's an IE. That's not Avraham Gileadi. Somebody else who rejected him, which would have been the supervisor, which most likely was Bruce R. McConkie, who told the supervisor to make the change, or Bruce R. McConkie just went in and made the change. And thus the IEs and ORs were the rejections of the BYU professor who was doing the HEBs or the GRs for Greek in the New Testament. God damn it. Apparently somebody's also pissed with the videos I did last night. Bleep you. You are aiding and abetting an evil man to threaten me. You are all witnesses, by the way. The Mormon employee, Chandler, he's back. I know your name now, you dumbass. Okay. Also in 23b, Avraham Gileadi was rejected. Would be Caphtor, which came forth out of Caphtor, destroyed them, and dwelt in their stead. And so it's i.e. Crete, from which early Philistines, Torim, migrated to Canaan. See? Dumbasses. This was the sea people that is being talked about here, and he calls it a migration. Oh dear God. So, alrighty. So I had to add to my list of Messiah characters that I did in the video for you in the listing. Deuteronomy chapter 5. For the 10 Commandments. Specifically the focus of verse 6, because I used it last night and went, oh yeah, this needs to be added into that list. It's kind of the law. And so verse 6 says, I am the Lord thy God. And probably should have looked it up on Blue Letter Bible, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Who brought the house of Israel out of the land of Egypt? Anybody? Anybody? It was Moses. Moses is the Jewish Christ. That's why it's the 5 books of Moses, even though it was Jewish authors during the Qumran community who wrote them. Deuteronomy 5. And Westminster Leningrad Codex. And so it's Yahweh, Eloah, your God. And it's Eloah, rather than El or Elohim, which is supposed to be plural all the way through. Why didn't you trust Joseph? Had that University of Utah professor come over to BYU to tell Mormon kids that Joseph was wrong. And so what this is saying is that Yahweh is Moses. They're not two separate gods. Or a prophet is less than God. And the reason why we know this is in chapter 18, which this was all one text originally, by the way. And so you have verse 15. the Lord thy God, same wording, will raise up. Will means future. Raise up means seed, egg, baby. Not dove, it's egg. Homuzion, not real. Definitely not exalted Heavenly Father coming to his 14-year-old daughter from outer space, raping her, forcing her to have the baby, and then give it up for adoption to the temple. The church did the exact same thing based on their revisionist history of the Book of Mormon. They had their adoption agency. It's coming back. And so, a prophet. A Jewish author is predicting the future. He's a prophet, writing the law of the Jews about a future prophet who will predict the future. Because that's what a prophet is. It's right here. It's defined in the text of the law of the Jews. Prophets, seers, revelators. You have to have a date given with the prophecy. And they all do. Your big hint was 8 April 2024. Remember? It's the first and last letters of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. So in the text itself, they tell you when their Christ is coming and where. And it's not Jerusalem. It's the United States of America. This is the Christ of the law of the Jews. He's a future person to come. And so Orthodox Jews believe that Yahweh is a separate entity in outer space somewhere. That Moses is a human being who they're waiting for Messiah ben Joseph to come to prepare the way for the coming of Messiah ben David, the prophet, the man like Moses. And AI can't even get it right because his name is Emmanuel, Amen, the sun god at noonday of the David-Moses dynasty priesthood. Section 107, verses 2 through 4. Son Amen. That's the list that I was talking about. And so thus why the first commandment is Moses. There is no other Christ but Moses. Thou shalt not worship any Christ but Moses. So is Jesus Moses? No. Is Jesus the man like Moses? Yeah. Huh? Because Constantine's first creed, turned everything literal history. Hello? Real easy to figure out. And yet, see how many people are blinded as a stumbling block to these scriptures that are plain and precious. This is what it's talking about. So, Joseph Smith says he's going to be a Mormon because they footnoted it here in Deuteronomy 18, Joseph Smith history 140. Nephi tells Joseph Smith in a vision, not a literal history, that the man like Moses, as he refers to Acts's version rather than Deuteronomy's version, but you can see Deuteronomy is there in the footnotes. It's first, because they put them in order. and then Acts, and then another version of it in Acts 7:37. But they do not reference to the Book of Mormon. But they do in verse C, or footnote C, 3 Nephi 20:23. That's the repeat. I don't know why they didn't put it with B. Because cut off. It's not cut off in 23, it's cut off in 24, you dumbasses. Well, actually, yeah, 22 is the man like Moses, because of, yeah, when I was revising it for the church, we were told to remove parentheses, and so, yeah, they should have put 3 Nephi 20:22 to 23, no parentheses, up in B. So, but I didn't get to work on the Book of Mormon or the triple of any of that. It was all Bible for me. And yeah, because I was that good, I did a lot of the big stuff. And I did them all by myself because they wanted to share. They didn't want one person to do a whole book. And so Bruce R. McConkie had to share with some dumbass in Isaiah. And you'll notice the difference in quality of the footnotes as you read through Isaiah. You'll definitely know which ones Bruce R. McConkie did. Bruce R. McConkie also did all of the chapter headings, by the way. And so, yes, I think they started me on Deuteronomy because I didn't go through all of Deuteronomy, but I did a good chunk of it because of how fast I was. And that's what the supervisor realized, is that I'm exceedingly faster than everybody else with this project, and because of my associative memory. And so they recognized the quality as well, as the supervisor reviewed everything, making sure that it was right. I'm the probie, so I was under my magnifying glass for everything I did at the beginning. And because I proved myself early on, I was then given whole books. Isaiah, Matthew, and some others. I don't think all of Genesis, and maybe not even Matthew, because he started out purposely to give me other books to try to leave some of the others behind, and then came back and said, these still have left to be done. And then as we got into it, then the supervisor realized we need to form groups, because others are now finding out that the footnotes need to be revised. It's all crap. And so then they had two groups of 4. Joseph Smith's second vision. 2 sets, 4 times, 22nd of September. In which we reviewed all of it. And it was a BYU group and our group. And you have the rest of the people finishing up the rest of the Bible. And the finished pages were then given to the 2 groups of us. And we followed the Doctrine and Covenants section 107, that we all have to be agreed on the changes, otherwise the crap gets left behind, assuming that it conforms to the policy. So for example, if there's a disagreement on Joel 2:28 for verse 41a, because it has Joel 2:28, parentheses, 28 to 32. You got to get rid of parentheses. And so, if there's a disagreement as to Joel, as somebody wants to put in something else, remove Joel, but somebody else says, no, we need to keep Joel, then Joel remains, just because there was an argument. We weren't in 100% agreement, so Joel remains. But the parentheses have to go. And so most likely, it would be the supervisor at this point who would merely say Joel 2:28, or he would have to go in and see if verse 32 needs to be included. So, stupid. Get stupid people doing the project and you get stupid results. Stupid in, stupid out. But nonetheless. And so that explains a lot of the work that I did that you don't see. I also tried to get Egyptians put in the footnotes. They said, no, we have, there's been a lot of them lately since the freeze has hit. Not just cops that you hear there, but the ambulances and fire department. All hell's breaking loose now. But, yeah, I tried to get Egyptian in the footnotes, and they said that, well, we have scholars at BYU who are in charge of the foreign languages. Yeah, but you don't have Egyptian. Hello, Joseph Smith uses Egyptian in the Joseph Smith translation. You told us we had to only stick to the footnotes. Joseph Smith translation. Hello, we need to footnote it. It's only in John. We need to put it in Matthew. I wouldn't do it. But I tried. So anyway. So Joseph Smith then says that prophet is Christ. He knows. The Jews know. It's Christians who screwed it up. Moses is the Christ. The man like Moses is the Christ. And here Joseph Smith says, the man like Moses is the Christ. But he says, he hasn't come yet. The day had not yet come. Day, Revelation. The Jewish Christ, which Joseph Smith is saying he's our Christ, has not yet come. Joseph Smith is preparing the way for the Jewish Christ. So what does that make Joseph Smith? Messiah ben Joseph, whom the Jews are waiting for, because they didn't know it was Joseph, because they didn't know that the prophecies were saying it's going to be America. So, Book of Mormon, 2 Nephi, chapter 3, verse 5. Wherefore Joseph of Egypt truly saw our day, and obtained a promise of the Lord, that out of the fruit of his loins a son descendant of Joseph of Egypt, Messiah ben Joseph, and quotes from Deuteronomy the law, would raise up a righteous branch, another Messiah, Messiah ben Joseph, to prepare the way for Messiah ben David. And sure enough, Messiah ben David should be made manifest unto Mormons in the latter days. That's what Joseph Smith was telling you. This is where he got it from. He got it from the Bible. All Jews know this. But Jews are told that the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ. as the rabbi was given a tour of the heathen temple in Vatican City with the idol god statue of Jesus, which is so big. Oh, see how big it is? It's so true. You better worship it, Rabbi. That's not Moses. That's a violation of the Jewish commandment. Thou shalt have no other Christ but the man like Moses, whom Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon says would be a Mormon in the latter days, after Joseph Smith, Messiah ben Joseph. So, section 103, verse 16, the redemption of Mormons must come by power for Zion. Therefore, the Lord will raise up unto Mormons a man like Moses to lead them like as Moses led the house of Israel. Because Mormons are in bondage. So we get to Abinadi. It came to pass there was a man among them whose name was Abinadi. Notice they don't call him a prophet. But wait a minute. And he went forth among them, and he began to prophesy. A man is a prophet? Remember the law of the Jews? A prophet, a man like Moses. Book of Mormon is not literal history. These are prophecies and revelations. And this is Moses Yah, chapter 11, verse 20. And here you see, there is a man who begins to be a prophet. He's a man like Moses. In the book of a man like Moses. See what they're doing here in the Book of Mormon? Abinadi is a man like Moses, but he's preparing the way. He's Joseph Smith. And so if he's Messiah ben Joseph, we would expect that this prophet will be murdered. Does Abinadi get murdered? I don't know. Should we spoil the end and go right to the ending? And so then you get Alma, who preaches the word of Abinadi, of the brass plates, of the gold plates, the Book of Mormon. Alma now is the man like Moses, with an exodus, because King Noah is a naughty boy. See how this works? Despite the attack from the Mormon employee, who cannot come to grips with the church being false, I nonetheless do another bombshell video for you guys. So let's get to the Ten Commandments part. King Noah. So notice Noah, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the latter days. Interesting. But he's wicked in this story. Who is Abinadi that I and my people should be judged of him? Who is the Lord that shall bring upon my people such great sufferings? See, they're Christians with idol god statue Jesus. Now the eyes of the people were blinded. Therefore they hardened their hearts against the words of Abinadi. And I sought forth from that time to take him. Alright, and they wanted to slay him. I command you to bring Abinadi hither that I may slay him. Abinadi came in disguise 2 years later, began to prophesy. That was your dead giveaway. They knew who you were. You can't fool them. Joseph. Alright, so here we get into Moses 12:17. Noah locks him up in prison. Joseph Smith was constantly locked up in prison because of the Danites. I see a pattern match here. This was written before the Danites. How did the Book of Mormon know? But yeah, the same thing would be done to the man like Moses too, Mormons. This is who you're supposed to look for. These are the prophecies. These are the checklists. That's why Matthew is talking to Jews. And he says, thus saith the prophet, as was fulfilled by the words of the prophet. Over and 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 over. He's telling you the checklist. Turning it into a story form of prophecy and revelation. Giving you the day and the hour too. Because the Cairo is there in Matthew. That's the date, 8 April 2024, over the United States of America. And it's even, we've seen his star in the east, even though that's not his birth, but there was a star in the east for his birth. Remember, he's Mormon, human. He actually had a birth. He actually has a birthplace, as prophesied. He has a nativity place, as prophesied. He moves, as prophesied. He starts his ministry, as prophesied, in the place, as prophesied. It's all been fulfilled. It's already established fact. The Bible, the Book of Mormon, and Joseph Smith are true as Jewish prophecy and revelation. You can't threaten me. And they don't care. They know they will not convert me. They know who I am. Question is, why don't Mormons? And that's why YouTube is sent in to silence my channel. So you don't know. So the priests began to question him. And they bring up Isaiah. But they don't say it's Isaiah. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace. Told you to keep that footnoted. Keep that tab. That bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, and saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. And then they use Jerusalem in verse 23 from Isaiah. And so Abinadi obviously responds, are you priests and pretend to teach this people and to understand the spirit of prophesying, and yet desire to know of me what these things mean? Yeah, they thought they were going to trap him, because it says you have to preach peace. You're preaching contention, and contention is of the devil, Abinadi. Sound familiar, Mormons? Peace is Salem. That's why Jerusalem is also there. Salem was the original name. Upon the mountains of Salem. going all the way back to David Moses III, who went on vacation in the midst of Armageddon to establish Salem as a kingdom. That's what Isaiah is talking about. And so the feet of him puts his feet on the mount. It's not the Mount of Olives. Not Mount Olivet. Though I do have my mom's parents buried on Mount Olivet, right across from the U, not in Jerusalem. And so, yeah, they then reply, we teach the law of Moses, Deuteronomy. So obviously he replies, if you teach the law of Moses, why do you not keep it? How dare you? So he has to go over it for him and list it. And so, I know if you keep the commandments of God, you shall be saved. And if you keep the commandments, which the Lord delivered unto Moses in Mount Sinai, to the Qumran community, I am the Lord thy God, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. See? Thou shalt have no other God but Moses, the man like Moses. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, no matter how big you make it, or any likeness of anything in heaven above or in things in the earth beneath. And it gets to worship in the other part where he continues on. Have you done all this? No. Has Nelson done this? No. Obviously, the church news article last night showed they do not keep the law of Moses. They put Jesus as an idol god statue in the Vatican temple and had a Jew come to their temple with an idol god to impress him. See how big it is. This was beyond insensitive of Suarez. Suarez was given the assignment to go there and to meet with him. You need to know this. Thursdays, they have their meetings and give out assignments. As it was yesterday, it's unlikely that Suarez was sent out that morning, because it would have taken longer to get to Jerusalem. And so he would have been assigned last Thursday. Before the election. Suarez was out of the country during the election. Interesting. The prophets fled the country for the election. Interesting. So, I think we can wrap it up now, because I thought I had the next play. Oh, yeah, that's where we need to go. Mosiah 29, to remind you of wicked King Noah. Verse 17. For behold, how much iniquity doth one wicked king cause to be committed? Yea, and what great destruction. We know it's coming. I warned you of AI. Both Dominion and Smartmatic, I think it is, use AI in their programming for the voting machines. I did the check. AI is a virus malware. So do you see how they did this? 2016, there were numerous ways, but the more popular ones was Facebook with Steve Bannon, with Cambridge Analytica, and Paul Manafort selling it to Russia, for which Russians then purchased advertising on Facebook to spread misinformation and disinformation, where Americans were buying the t-shirts, "I'd rather be Russian than vote Democrat." And Democrats were given the advertising, "Call this number now to secure your vote." Yeah, 2016 election was rigged. Now go to 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 4. And remember, it's not literal history. Hey, there's a date given in verses 8 through 10. I wonder what that date is. 23rd September 2017, which means the first year is 2017, when a king on America is put on the throne by a foreign government. Confirmed and convicted. And he was only convicted for the other tampering of the catch and kill tabloid journalism with the porn stars. That's what he was convicted for. He rigged the election with that scandal. But the Mueller report was ordered by Barr to not conclude. And everybody thinks Mueller failed. No, he was ordered to fail. The Mueller report exposes Trump colluding with Russia. No collusion. No. Yes. 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 We all witnessed it at Helsinki, you dumbass. And everybody is just playing dumb. And so in the 2020 election, remember the voting machine scandal? Fox News got sued. Murdoch is fired. Remember? What were they complaining about? That the voting machines were rigged. And Biden takes over. And so MAGA, under Biden, creates a national security issue with the border, which means it's Trump or Biden that has to take care of it, not Congress for immigration. They got SCOTUS put in by Trump to overthrow Roe v. Wade. 14th Amendment, Section 1. Then they would go on to destroy Section 2 and Section 3 and the First Amendment and other amendments, as nobody is getting punished for January 6th except for those civilians who were under orders. The leadership were never held accountable. Section 3. And so then states begin denying abortion. They're doing trans bans, banning books. Utah banned the Bible. and then restored it when the Book of Mormon got threatened. It's porn! Porn in all its forms! And yet the church is guilty of child bride, polygamy, prostitution, sex trafficking. Huh. And they're obsessed with porn, are they? This is the great wickedness. And so now with this election, AI is introduced. We already know AI is a false product that needs to get pulled from the shelves, and it didn't, and now it's multi-trillions of dollars, and there's no way in hell we can get rid of it now. I keep doing the videos for you, running the tests on AI. I've already confirmed it's false. It needs to be pulled down. Because in science, when you develop a theory, it needs to be logically sound, and you need to run a test. You can't just claim a theory. You have to run a test. And if that test comes back false, you have to dismiss the theory. You can't keep claiming the theory when you've tested it and found that it's false. That makes you stupid. AI has been tested and has failed the test. It needs to be pulled. I saw in the news this morning of the first AI robot that sold for $1.3 million. No, it's not a robot. It's a Teddy Ruxpin from back in the 80s. I'm Teddy Ruxpin. Will you be my friend? That's all it is. Somebody programs text with an audio, places it in the bear so that the kid can push a button or whatever to get it to speak. That's all AI is. You have human beings typing in facts. No. Lies. Misinformation, disinformation. And so AI keeps lying to us. It is incapable of telling us the truth because the humans who put in the information are lying. And it's white supremacist. They hate the Jews who are putting this information in. They're promoting Christianity over the Jews. That's why I'm running these tests and showing them to you. It is white supremacist in origin. It is not intelligent. It's only regurgitating. It's no different than a computer system. You plug in information, it gives you back only what you plug in. It is incapable of thinking. It is incapable of having sentient thought. It is incapable of creation, discovery, decipherment, invention. It can't do it. It only monkey see, monkey do. It is a fraudulent malware virus that cooed our government. Dominion cooed our government this time. After winning the lawsuit, they then incorporated AI. Dominion has no clue how AI works. Nobody does. We're all told incorrect information about AI. Musk supports Trump, turns X into a pro-Trump propaganda machine of misinformation and disinformation and anti-Semitism, by the way. I'm still having difficulty finding out which AI program Smartmatic and Dominion used. They're not wanting to tell me. And Smartmatic was not showing up on the screen. They're saying that they're struggling to get their site to pop up. was confirmed that they do use AI. This election was rigged. There was no way in hell Harris lost. And lost the popular vote? Are you kidding me? The big pop celebrities and all bunch of new people in registering to vote, and Harris still lost? They all voted for Trump? Swifties voted for Trump? Beyonce followers voted for Trump? Are you kidding me? Barack Obama? And they voted for Trump? Blacks voted for Trump? Immigrants voted for Trump? Illegal immigrants voted for Trump? Women voted for Trump? After it was Trump who took away your rights as women. And you voted for Trump. You're not catching on yet? Because there's more. LGBTQ. You voted for Trump, did you? This is AI. There's no way to test it. Because none of it was a paper ballot. You punched in Harris, and AI said Trump. Because that was the programming of the AI. The whole election was a scam. And guess who confessed? But it got leaked. He wasn't supposed to get leaked. Dum 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 dum. Iron Man stole it. It's Metallica's. Metallica. I had already exposed it. And that's why the church is upset with me lately. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. in The Way to Perfection. Under the gathering at Adam-on-Diamond by voice of the priesthood and the surrounding section. There will be a transfer of government authority from Lucifer to Jesus. No, it won't. This is code. It's Danite code. Thomas B. Marsh told us, the Danites. These are the ones who are going to coup the government. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. is believing that it is real as Jesus is going to do it. He was told this by the Danites, by the way. He was raised up by Heber C. Kimball in the Danite Valley of Brigham Young. And so he became indoctrinated, just like every other Mormon is, to be a hater. And he doesn't seem to get it. Jesus is going to coup the government? Jesus is going to be a mass murderer? I thought Jesus was a God of love. He turns the other cheek. You misunderstood. But anyway. And so then he goes on and says it's all a secret combination. The saints cannot know of it. The saints must not know of it. It's a thief in the night. It's a secret combination. The coup of the government. Really? And so yeah, the church was pissed. Wah. And so then Oaks, 14th of March, Saturday, 2020, speaks to the missionaries in the Las Vegas, Nevada mission. They're little kids, 18 and 19 years old. And tells them that what is about to happen for 2020 is not the end of the world, but merely a test. A trial run for the second coming of Jesus. And the second coming of Jesus is mass murder and coups of government, including the United States of America. And so now Oaks is confessing we rigged the 2020 election as a test. It's already their plot. And Oaks says, yep, 2020 is going to be a test run. We're going to have Trump lose and see if we can do a coup with a test run. You hearing this, Mitt Romney? It was all just a test to see if the people would murder you, Mitt. Your church, Oaks, says, we rigged the 2020 election. This was before it happened. This is why my second lawsuit included the Insurrection Act. And Barr rejected it for my case, but then spoke to prosecutors saying, hey, I just learned of this new law that's in our books. Use it on the Black Lives Matter protesters. They didn't. January 6th happened. My government didn't stop it when I warned them about it. They smeared poop on the walls, claiming they were just on vacation. David Moses III didn't smear poop on the walls in Salem on his vacation. What the hell? And so prosecutors would eventually arrest some of the people that were there, many of whom were Mormon. Not Senator Lee, who got exposed as trying to coup the government. Mitt Romney, he wasn't trying to coup the government. That's why Mitt Romney quit. And now Curtis, a Danite loyalist, who was also there, right? Or was he 2022? Can't remember. I think he was back in 2020. Regardless. Danites. Cox, descendant of a Danite. I told you the church wanted him in. You can't get him out, Lyman. But nonetheless. So yes, the church rigged this one as well. Because this is the second coming. Nelson told you it is. That's what he meant. All Mormons a month later finally figured it out. He said, what? Church is true. Jesus is coming. And clueless of how evil you are. This is the levels of ignorance to the top leadership positions. You've got to demonstrate your ignorance and your illiteracy at the base in order to get elevated to the next levels of leadership. Sorry, women, not you. Thus, women typically are never allowed to learn the secret combinations, just the men. And so, tragedy is coming, Mormons. Trump is already getting his crew together. People who will not tell him no. Remember? Trump's first term, Oak says, that was us. We put him in. Using the help of a foreign government. Now do you understand what Nelson meant when he said, in a major city yet to be determined in Russia? I knew what it meant immediately. Because I knew what 21st of August 2017 meant. That's why I've been doing these videos for you. And you just, oh my God. And so yes, you know, the liberal press interviewed JFK Jr. or RFK Jr. whatever. And he told them, oh no, I have no plans on gutting anything. No, fake news. Fox News, I saw this morning, interviewed him. Yeah, I'm gutting everything. Of course he is! That's what Trump wants. That's what Trump is hiring people for, to do what Trump wants. You got the deep state Dems all saying, oh no, Trump's going to prosecute people. No, he's not. He's going to execute you on live Trump TV. The press gone. Are you not paying attention to the seriousness of this? And you get Kamala Harris conceding, oh yeah, we lost. We've got to concede. We want a fair transition of authority. The people voted. No, they didn't. It was rigged. Just like in Russia. And then Biden comes out. Yeah, we're going to have a peaceful transfer of authority. There will be a transfer of authority. They're setting Trump up to be Jesus. What? What? What are you doing? But no, the church is going to get their kingdom back. That's why I do my videos. First presidency reminds Trump to hand over the kingdom. This is where I'm getting it from. I show you the pictures. I give you the clips. It's all blatantly obvious. We are all in serious danger. And they talk about it. He puts out his guards and his friends around him. That's what Trump is doing right now. Exactly like Mosiah 29 is telling us, warning us. We know Trump is evil. We know he's wicked. So yes, he's gonna follow Mosiah 29 to a T. And you voted for him, did you? And so yes, Mormons here in this Utah Valley will be subject to the church and their kingdom. But there's gonna be a backlash. Wait a minute, what are you doing? You're not giving loyalty to Jesus Trump, the King of Kings, saves the Jews in Israel. And so women, full abortion ban. You now are trad wives, handmaids. Adoption agencies will be restored for human trafficking of the babies. Blacks, deported, if not executed, by the cops, putting their knees on your neck. Kids, treatment centers. Oh my God, I heard in the news here in Utah, the school systems have seclusion rooms. They're padded rooms by psychologists. And there are kids being placed in them as kids. Because a psychologist, they're all going to prison, haven't you noticed? And here's yet another scandal just this year of psychologists and their abuse. But under the new kingdom, psychologists are the concentration camp doctors again, just like in Nazi Germany. So the homeless, exterminated. It's code blue time. Fruit Heights doesn't want them, even though the church is taking them in, but the neighborhood's concerned. You're not the Mormon church. We don't want the homeless in your church, in our neighborhood. Yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will never open up the churches for the homeless. I remember in West Valley City for a state conference for the priesthood meeting on Saturday evening that there was a homeless person who snuck into the transistor station of the stake building, the electrical power grid box thing that's walled off and fenced off. You have to have a key to get in, and it's the maintenance guy that has that key, but regardless, he had snuck in and was making himself at home, and I saw it and I reported it, and so our high priest group leader at the time, because they no longer exist, and the elders quorum, not the elders quorum president, ward mission leader, I think. There was one other guy, and then they had me come along too, in which they took him to Operation Rio Grande before it was Operation Rio Grande, and we brought him inside and had him processed in, and they found that he had drug paraphernalia contraband. After telling us he didn't, but nonetheless. And so, yeah, it was, dear God. But yeah, no homeless allowed at church buildings. And so this Fruit Heights church, come on. How long have you been in Utah? Catholic Church knows this. They have to walk a fine line on eggshells here in Utah. But yeah, homeless will be exterminated, booted out of the state, or put into forced labor. That's what they do. Get a job, you bums. The government caused them to be homeless. Just like King Noah, just like the Zoramites. So immigrants and Latinos and DACA and dreamers and spouses of citizens and anybody who's got colored skin that's not black, you're all considered the same. They're white supremacist Christian nationalists. They are evil. Deported and indefinitely incarcerated in Walmart detention centers. Just like at the southern border. That's what they're planning on doing. Trump did it day one when he took office. Day one, and kept it a sacred secret from the rest of the nation. We didn't find out until like a couple of years later. The document got leaked. Already thousands of babies were shipped off to be adopted by good Christian rich parents who were white, as others were sex trafficked. Gotta pay attention to Trump. When he makes accusations, he's actually projecting. Those who are disabled, yeah, you're worthless, executed. Those who are elderly, executed. That's the whole thing in 2020. When it came out, that's what people were saying on Fox News. I'm willing to die so that my kids can live. Excuse me? Oh my God. And then Trump tells you to drink Drano. And the CDC had to come out and say, no, don't drink Drano. And then Trump fired them all. That's what he's doing. You know what's going to happen. Why, people? Are people seriously that apathetic that they're just going to let this happen? because Harris and Biden did. Harris and Biden are too apathetic to do their job to the Constitution. That they are letting all of you get led as lambs to the slaughter. It's just so disgusting. LGBTQIAPO+, indefinitely detained in concentration camps for conversion therapy. It doesn't work, so yeah, you'll be there for the rest of your life, while the psychologists get paid, have permanent job status because of you. You fell for it. You got played by psychologists in the first place. Psychologists believe that being LGBTQ is a mental retardation. And so they're embracing you and accepting you is all a front. So that you come in and talk to them about the MAGA bullies who are trying to bully and abuse you. And thus they got you. They wanted you to make them money, and they got you. You fell for it because Star Trek, with Data's AI robot, was able to choose their sex based on how they felt. And psychologists gotcha as little kids in the school systems. Now they're doing padded rooms, I guess, here in Utah. So religion, Christianity, extremist Christianity, in other words, evangelical, fundamentalist, extremist Christianity, Christian nationalism. So all of the soft-core Christians, gone. Catholics, gone. Trump don't bow to the Pope. That was Biden who did that. And this is where I'm very curious about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Is Trump going to bite the hand that feeds him? There's the theme song. Hand that feeds. 9-inch snails. Love that Muppet Show. It was awesome. So yeah, it will come to it. Trump has all power. Once it's official, ain't nobody gonna take him out unless he dies. America is doomed. You cannot remove a wicked king without much bloodshed, much suffering. It's coming. Book of Mormon warned you. And so, yeah, Islam also is gone. But Islam has some extra special stuff just for them waiting. Really, you voted for Trump, did you? Because you were upset that Harris wasn't doing enough to exterminate the Jews in Israel. God. And of course, the Young Turks pissing me off. They're claiming that the Jews of Israel are exterminating Islam. Dumbasses. You forgot October 7th. That was an extermination event. You've got 2 billion Islamists for the 16 million Jews. And you think that Israel defending themselves and this is an extermination event. Bleep you, Cenk. So yeah, Islam will be executed just like blacks and indefinitely detained in Guantanamo. They won't be detained in America. So white supremacists, yeah, they'll be put into positions of authority over us. Whether it be government or business or the local SS, the Nazi youth battalion of the church or whatever. coming. You were warned by numerous prophets, the author of 1984, the author of Fahrenheit 451, Time Machine, and others. You chose not to listen, and now we're all doomed, and the church was responsible. So, yep, I see we're back to the 2 strikes, then the 3rd time they let me go.